Bronc Bros Podcast with Adam Ramirez and Sean Flanagan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sky is Falling and the Refs Are Only Out to Get Us podcast. I am your host, Mile Jaimez, along with my great buddy, Sean. Sean, before we get into the game, how was your weekend?
It was good, man. I caught, obviously, two of my youngest boys play football, so I had a football-filled weekend, as I always do, so it was a good one for me.
That's good. You know, all 13 of our listeners currently, because we can joke about this later in the future, they want to know how your life's going, Sean. So I have to ask.
How my life's going?
Yeah, I mean, just that's why I ask about the whole weekend thing, you know, because all 13 of them, they want to know what's going on in our lives. So,
yeah, man, just football. I spend 5 days a week at youth football. Obviously, my middle son plays quarterback, and he lit it up this weekend.
A
man.
stud.
So that was fun to watch. He put some crazy passes on film, so it was nice to see. Dude, it was cool.
He's a stud, man. I can't wait to watch him play for the Broncos in 20 whatever. What year were we looking at when he's out of college?
2036.
Hey, we'll be very old at that point.
Yeah.
My speaking of college, my Bulldogs, I know everyone kind of hates them unless they're a fan of Georgia, but they pulled one out, a crazy one at Tennessee, and that was quite a game. That was quite a game. I went through some heart attack moments this weekend, Sean, with both the Broncos and the Bulldogs, and of course the Broncos are what everyone's here to listen to and for us to talk about. So we're going to get to that now, Sean. Before we start talking about how the season's over and the Broncos are Super Bowl pretenders, we got to talk about the positive. It's what we always do. We're always going to do that after every game. And I'll start off with a nice positive, which was Bo Nix completely balled out, right? I mean, he was – in that first half, he was just incredible. Couldn't make a mistake, couldn't touch him, and the Colts didn't touch him the whole game, right? So, I mean, what do you have to say about Mr. Nix and his performance yesterday, in comparison, especially to Week 1?
Yeah, I mean, 3 touchdowns in the first half is a pretty big deal. I think there was an emphasis on it again. I think that J.K. Dobbins played great as well, and I gave him an opportunity to do that, but. And they moved the ball to some places that, I think they forced the ball to Cortland a couple times trying to keep him involved. But, the throw to Pat Bryant, get him his first NFL catch, some great balls to Franklin. He was on point, especially in the first half. So, didn't work out, obviously. But I think from a statistical perspective and just kind of overall play perspective, I didn't have any complaints. I mean, obviously we'll get to the one, but other than that, I thought he played great.
I really think that Sean Payton called a really good game too. And everyone knows I'm the first one to say Sean Payton this, Sean Payton that when he does something I don't like, but I really didn't have an issue with anything he did yesterday as far as a play caller. What did you think about that?
Yeah. I love the jet sweep to, I think it was to Franklin. I thought that was a great play call. The ball to Mims in the back corner of the end zone, beautiful ball, great play call. Dobbins ran the ball well. I honestly think he should have got the ball more, especially when things kind of got a little loose in the third quarter. But I didn't have any problem with it. I thought it was effective. It certainly wasn't the offense's fault.
No, not at all. And you did make a good point there. The Broncos, they did force the football to Cortland Sutton a couple times when they probably shouldn't have. Right. But I think that we've got to give the Colts their flowers here. They effectively were able to take away Cortland Sutton. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of things schematically when it comes to the Colts yesterday, they were just a lot better on the coaching side. And I think when you're talking about Steichen and his offensive staff versus Vance Joseph yesterday, I mean, Steichen just took him to the woodshed, in my opinion. Like Vance just could not figure out what he was doing. They were confusing the Broncos secondary. Granted, one of those times involved a rookie, Jahdae Barron out there, and nobody covered the running back, which we can talk about who was to blame on that, but we're not in the huddle talking about, knowing what assignments there were. But I said this after the game, Sean, we didn't lose to a very good football team, but I was a little bit emotional about that. And I think maybe the Colts are a good football team. What do you think?
No, I
No,
don't. No,
still no.
No, it's honestly, it's just like, I'm just sick of talking about not being able to stop two of the NFL running backs that we can't stop and tight ends. Like it's exhausting. I don't know what it is about Jonathan Taylor, but he'll put up 200 all-purpose yards on us every single time he plays us. I don't know what it is. I mean, he's a great running back, so I guess I do know what it is. But the fact that you have the defense that you have and you just let that dude do whatever he wants, that's the frustrating part to me, because you had to know that that's where they're going to go, right? I mean, there's not a lot of big names in other places. So no, I don't think that the Colts are. I think we lost a golden opportunity with the Chiefs losing a second game for us to create space in this division. So no, I don't think they're a good team, and I think that was a huge stumble on our part, unfortunately.
Do we think then? Obviously, you probably don't. But this game, you don't think this game is going to come back to bite the Broncos in the butt as far as like a wild card seeding, if it comes down to that kind of thing. You don't think the Colts are going to be there?
No, I don't think I don't think we're going to be like we were last year, wondering which of the 3 or 4 teams has to win or lose for us to get in once we lost. Weren't in the driver's seat anymore. I don't foresee that. I don't think whatever 4 years of Daniel Jones has had on tape, he's all of a sudden never going to punt all season long. Let's get real here. I just don't think that's I don't think that's realistic. So, but it's just like you said, they were down 2 corners and yet they still found a way to win, and they schemed perfectly, essentially. When you only win by 1, obviously it's a close game. It's a good game. And they out-schemed us just enough. And unfortunately for us as Broncos fans, we were on the sad side of that.
Yeah, and the Colts were without arguably their most talented pass rusher as well and playmaker on defense in Latu. So I think that it's a good win for the Colts, right? I'm not gonna sit here and hate on the Colts. They're not a rival of us or anything. They were just a team that got the best of us, and they usually do get the best of us when we play in Indianapolis. We talked about this on our last podcast, Sean, where the Broncos, they just do not play well in Indianapolis. There's just something about that place and something about that place in Baltimore where the Broncos just something crazy always happens. And of course, we will get to what everyone wants to talk about with the craziness in the Broncos game. But one more positive, Sean, before we move on. We were talking about forcing the ball to Courtland Sutton and the Colts, schematically being better than the Broncos in certain areas yesterday. But them taking away Courtland Sutton ended up being an opportunity for the Broncos to get the ball to other people. We saw Marvin Mims score a touchdown. We saw our tight end step up big time in the absence of a, I guess, fully active, fully healthy Evan Ingram. He was there, but he wasn't. But what really shined through for the Broncos yesterday was Troy Franklin. And I've been telling people, last year we needed him to step up, and he started doing that towards the end of the year, right? We heard his comments in the offseason about how he was going to come ready to play. He was going to be a bigger part of the offense for the Broncos this year. And I really think that this was a blessing in disguise, maybe not losing the game, but not being able to get the ball to Courtland Sutton and being able to show the NFL, like, hey, we've got 2 other guys here that we can get the ball to that can beat you deep. They can beat you short. They can make plays. And so I think it's just a really good thing for the Broncos that Troy Franklin had his coming out party. He had 8 catches for 89 yards and a touchdown. Outstanding game for him.
Yeah. Well, and you can see the chemistry, right? You can see the Oregon chemistry. Play breaks down. Bo Nix is forced to run to the left rather than come back to the ball like a receiver typically would. He takes off down the sideline, and Bo knows exactly where he's going. You air it out, you get a great gain there. Again, the jet sweep I thought was a fantastic play call. I think he took that for like 11. So yeah, I mean, that's only going to help Courtland down the line, because it's going to take that forced necessity for them to take Cortland away because this guy can do it too. So yeah, I thought he had a fantastic game. I loved watching it. We loved the pick last year, and now let's just see if it's consistent. Because if it is, then we've got a great receiver on this roster, and I hope that's the case.
Absolutely. And let's pause for a moment. And can we not say enough about that throw by Bo Nix? I mean, my goodness. And we'll talk about his mistakes and things like that here in just a moment. But that throw was just amazing. And he is showing his ability to be he has the talent to be one of the best passers out of the pocket in the league, if not the best. Right? I know you got Mahomes and Jackson, all these other guys, but he can do it too. Josh Allen, of course. But I think Bo Nix is really starting to come into his own. And really, football teams don't start playing their best until after week 4. It takes a while to start getting things together. But when you look at the fact that he is so well protected by this offensive line and he has the escapability, I think the Broncos have the makings of a very dangerous offense moving forward. But the concern, ironically enough, this week, Sean, the defense. Yep. I mean, I don't even know where to start. You had the pass rush that could not touch Daniel Jones. Like, they just couldn't. They didn't even, get pressure on him unless they brought an extra guy.
Yep.
And even when they brought extra guys, they got burned. I mean, it was like the Colts knew what they were going to do, when they were going to do it. They knew how to confuse the Broncos. They knew how to attack the Broncos. And the number one thing for me, Sean, was that they weren't afraid to go after Pat Surtain. Like, even before the ankle injury, they were throwing at him.
Yep. So
what are your concerns after watching this game with our defense, or are you concerned?
Yeah, I am. And I'm not overly concerned, but I think, when we were chatting with some folks on Facebook yesterday, we got absolutely torched in between the 20s, embarrassing. Sure, you can stand up and keep them out of the end zone and hold them to field goals and all that kind of stuff, but you didn't play defense in between the 20s, and it was pathetic. And, like I said, with the tight ends, we pounded the table for Tyler Warren. I know there wasn't a possibility based on our draft, our draft position, but come on, man. What is it going to take? It's since Super Bowl 50, we haven't been able to cover a tight end, and it's driving me insane. Like, you're letting rookies just pick you apart like they're Travis Kelce, and they've been in this league for 15 years, and they know how to sit down in your zones and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, Pat had a terrible game. And I know some of the bigger, busted plays where he was like the corner in coverage were more like zone plays, and he was kind of off coverage. But, even when he was in man coverage, and people are like, well, look how tight the coverage is. Yeah, but he still caught the ball. And so, I know it's a one-off, and to Pat's credit, he doesn't play a whole lot. He doesn't get to do much for most of the season. So I guess when somebody comes at you, maybe you have one of those games. I didn't think it would be Daniel Jones. If you told me to bet money on who of the 17 games this year was going to do it, I can guarantee you Daniel Jones was not who I had my money on. But yeah, man, in between the 20s is a major concern for me. And I know you and I used to speak like when Vic Fangio was here, and how they would just have that bend but don't break defense, and they would just give up yards in the middle of the field like it didn't matter, and you just give up field goals. I just don't like it. And to your pressure point, it was like I think Jonah Ellis was the only one that really had an effective game from a pressure standpoint. So, when you're that deep into the depth chart to get pressure, and look, Nick, you're going to have double teams. You're going to have to deal with this stuff now because you're that dude. So, him and Cooper, they just got to play better.
Yeah, to your point too, and we love Pat Surtain. Like, we're not going to sit here and bash the guy, but I think it's okay and it's fair to say he maybe arguably had his worst game in a long time, right? Yeah. And we know that Devontae Adams had some big moments against him earlier in his career, and those games looked a little rough, but there is nuance here, right? Like you said, some of these are man coverage. Some of these are zone coverage, and that's his assignment. And the guy catches the ball in front of him, he makes a tackle, right? That's his job. Some of these, he's right on the guy, and Daniel Jones just makes the most perfect throw that you can think of. And, that is what it is. And I know there's so many times during the season, Sean, that we will say you couldn't play any better coverage on a guy, but he still caught the ball. I mean, that's just what it is.
Yep.
You don't want the guy to catch the ball, but sometimes, as Drew Goodman would say on the Rockies broadcast, the other team practices too.
Yep.
Right? They practice too. And so, and Daniel Jones, man, he looked really, really good yesterday. And there was a point yesterday when I turned to my buddy who I was watching the game with, and I was like, he's going to give us the ball at some point. This is what he does.
I thought the same thing.
This is what he does. He's going to throw us the ball, or he's going to fumble it. Yep. He's done it his whole career. I think he leads the NFL in turnovers the last 2 seasons. If not, he's up there.
Yeah.
And so I kept waiting for that moment with Daniel Jones. And unfortunately, Sean, it came from Bo Nix.
Yep.
So we have to talk about this a little bit. He played outstanding yesterday, and I don't want to take that away from him. But the problem and the difference in the game, one of the big differences in the game, is that Daniel Jones did not give us the football. He did not. He took care of the football. He made smart throws. He made quick decisions. He went through his progressions. Like he outplayed Bo Nix, even though Nix had a higher touchdown or completion percentage, more touchdowns. But when it comes down to it, Sean, the name of the game is taking care of the football. And I just don't, I've watched the play a few times, and you look at Bidet, he's in there to block, right? He's in there for pass protection. He leaks out flat. There's nobody there. And so to me, on a third down, we want to get the first down, but there's a line, right, between trying to be the hero there and making a questionable decision, and then just living to fight another day, right? So I could be wrong. I'm not a film breakdown guy necessarily, but I can see when there's a linebacker or a safety over the top and a cornerback underneath. So, I don't think that was a great decision by Bo Nix, and it ultimately led to the Broncos losing the game, right? So what were your thoughts on that play?
Yeah, it's when you talk about a young quarterback and you talk about sophomore slumps, or I think a lot of that's decision making, right? And I think when he's got more years under his belt, he's going to do exactly what you say, and he's going to dump it into the flat, play for the field goal. You're already winning, right? And they can't get in the end zone, so those 3 points are big. And he just airmailed it. It could have been a better throw. He didn't make a good throw, and it ended up being picked. The unfortunate part is your defense was playing so bad, they were deep in their own zone. In a normal game, it probably doesn't even matter. But unfortunately, in this game, it was probably a turning point turnover, because you get 3 points there and we probably win this game. So, funny enough, we were talking about my son with the quarterbacking stuff, and that's things he's 11. And that's stuff that I talk about, like, you can't throw it high here because they're going to pick it and they might take it to the house depending on where you're throwing it. So, it's kind of one of those 101 things, but he wants to win. He had a bad game last week. He's trying to score. He's trying to do what he's paid to do. So I don't fault him. Unfortunately, it was a bad throw. Unfortunately, it's probably what cost us the game. In some way, shape, or form. Obviously, like I said, I think they're inside their 20 when they pick it off. If the defense just stands up a little bit and just doesn't let Jonathan Taylor run it for 80 freaking yards, so it's not all on Bo. But yes, that was a bad play. He made a bad read. He just needs to be a little bit more conservative based on down distance and time left in the game. And it's unfortunate, but that definitely was a huge turning point in this game.
Nothing that you said was anything that I disagree with. I just want to make sure we're clear that when Bo threw that ball, he looked flat-footed, number one.
Yeah,
right?
His feet were not good.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm going to, aim it over. And I'm not a quarterback coach or anything, but I can tell when a quarterback sets his feet, gets to that back foot. And they talked about Daniel Jones doing it all day. He got to his back foot and was able to, his timing was on. But that throw by Bo Nix was deflected by the Colts. My issue with it is that it wasn't a good decision.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't deflected, I mean, that guy's just right over the top. If you airmail that, it's getting picked. Like you said, And then the other thing, there's two other things about Bo Nix that bothered me yesterday that we need to talk about. There was a play, and I think I texted you during this play. There was the play where it was 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and Evan Ingram was clearly the number one read on this play, and he was not open, and he was not going to get a first down, and Bo just threw it anyway.
Yeah, he was short of the sticks.
Yep. So it's like, number one, what goes into that decision? And I know that there's, when it comes to football, it's, we don't know what the plays are. We don't know who the read is. We don't know what the hot route. We don't know any of that stuff. We don't know if you threw it to the right guy or not. But I mean, it's pretty clear when you only look at one receiver and you're just like, F it, I'm going to throw it over there anyway. It's pretty clear, right? So that was the first concern that I'll have you address. And then the second concern was when he came off the field, and Sean Payton, in my opinion, it looked like he was just saying, hey, what did you see there? Like, it wasn't yelling. It wasn't confrontational from Sean Payton's side, in my opinion. And if you've heard something different, let me know. But I feel like Coach Sean Payton was just asking him, hey, what'd you see there? What went into this decision? And Bo just kind of walks away from him. And, they're grown men, whatever, but I don't necessarily like that from Bo Nix, right? Like, he's your coach and you're the guy that's out there making plays, but at the end of the day, he's still the guy that's putting you in a position to succeed, right? So what were your concerns with that entire sequence there with Bo Nix?
Yeah, I think it's a growing piece as a leader, right? Because I think he's a highly emotional player when he's on the field, and that's great. I have no problem with that. But yes, when that bleeds over to the sideline and you're trying to be on the same page so that you can be better the next series or whatever it is, I don't fault Sean Payton for that at all. I don't think it. I think it's a non-issue. But I do think, just from like the optics and how Bo is going to need to handle those things as the guy for the next 15 years. Probably not a good look, right? And you probably need to handle that a little bit better, knowing you're an emotional guy and you're trying to bring this team to victory and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a non-issue, but I do absolutely think that it's something that he'll probably have to tweak in his leadership as he grows in the NFL, for sure. And as far as the other one, like, sometimes, dude, like, you can just run the ball. You're good at it. Like, sometimes, I'm ready for that. I know maybe he's not supposed to or whatever, and we don't know the play call, but I think there's some opportunities sometimes for him to take care of it with his legs too. So
I just feel like he made that decision before the ball was even snapped. He's like, I'm just going to throw it there. I don't care what happens. And that's what it looked like. And it just wasn't, they make mistakes. They're humans. I don't expect them to be perfect, but I think it's fair to question what you saw on that play, right? And the attitude situation with Bo, it's a live by the sword, die by the sword thing, right? We are going to love when Bo Nix makes a huge play against the Raiders or the Chiefs and he runs his mouth. We're going to love that, especially if it wins the game, right? There's going to be situations, though, during his maturity, while he matures, during his immaturity, I should say, where he's going to run his mouth. It's going to get him in trouble. Right? He's going to run his mouth and somebody's going to talk back to him. And then the next play, he's going to try and prove something he doesn't need to prove. Right? And when it comes to the killer instinct, like, he's trying to hit Cortland for a first down on that play because he wants to put the game away with a touchdown. We can't fault him for that. That's awesome. Right? We love that killer instinct. But then there's going to be times where he does that and it doesn't go to plan. He turns the ball over and ultimately it leads to the Broncos losing a game. These are things that we have to just live with and die with when it comes to Bo Nix, right? And I told somebody this the other day, and this is not a slight on Bo Nix at all, but he trusts his arm a little too much for a second-year quarterback sometimes, and he's not that guy. He's not that guy yet, right? He's a good quarterback. He's on the rise. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not prime Aaron Rodgers. You know what I mean? He's not Josh Allen yet. He's not prime Patrick Mahomes, which I'm not sure he's in that anymore. But these are things that we have to live and die with when it comes to Bo Nix, right? And, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think that's just who he is, right? And that's our quarterback, and we support him, and It's going to be good. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, he'll be fine. It's like I said, it's a non-issue. It's just one of those things where, yeah, I mean, as a leader, none of us are perfect. As
No.
whatever, father, I don't always make the best decisions and stuff like that. And so it's always something that you can grow on and you learn from it. And it's on film. He can see it. If he can handle that as a grown man, and I know he will.
Yeah, no doubt. And he is very coachable. Otherwise, Sean Payton would not have picked him, right?
Yeah.
That never would have happened. And so we're not concerned about Bo Nix. I think the fact that he's turning the ball over so much is a little bit of a concern. Against the Titans, it was more like, okay, that first throw was like, that's more on Mims, right? Because he's lazily running the route and not taking the safety with him. And Cortland could have came and got the ball a little bit better, and Bo could have put a little bit more zip on it. But that one you can live with, right? And then the misread on the second pick against the Titans, it's like, what's going on? I mean, I know it's a rollout to the opposite side, and it's probably hard for him to see over there. But if you don't see it, don't throw it, right? I mean, or you got to rip the fade or whatever it is that you got to do there. But this turnover yesterday was costly.
Yep.
Which led to our last little segment about the Colts game, Sean, which was the Broncos lost the game because of the Broncos. Okay. The Broncos aren't walking around with some sort of target on their chest or on their back from the NFL. The refs aren't out to get us. So as a fan base, I would like for us, Sean, to take some accountability, right? The team lost the game. Let's blame the team. So ultimately, right, you get the interception. They take it down the field and they kick a field goal, right? Not a touchdown, but the Broncos held them to a field goal, which is always a plus. But again, you want it between the Tonys, you got to stop them a little bit, right? And then you have the Will Lutz situation. So we're still, we're up by one. No, what was the score when Lutz missed that field goal?
Up to
28-26, right?
Yep.
So if you take even the Bo Nix situation, we kick field goal there, it's 31-20, right? And then when you kick another field goal after that, it's 34-20. So the Broncos are home free basically at that point. So Lutz has to make that kick. And something that the Broncos fans are beaten to death in social media is it's fine, but there was leveraging on that play too, right? On the Colts, and they didn't call it. They didn't call it. That's the point. There's nothing we can do about the refs not calling or seeing something that they saw on another play. And if we're being honest, Sean, before we get to the big moment at the end of the game, there were a lot of calls that went the Broncos' way during this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like that shove on Bo Nix, that was weak.
Yeah.
And then you had the pass interference call that the Colts were worked up about when it came to Riley Moss. I thought it was negligible contact, but it still could have been called.
Sure.
Easily. And then you had the overthrow over Sutton's head, and they call pass interference on a ball that I thought was uncatchable. So there were a lot of calls that went towards the Broncos. And Pat Surtain got away with a lot yesterday as well. And that's what great corners do. They're physical on every play, and it's like you're not going to throw a flag every play, right?
Yeah, because you could.
So you could. But I don't think that the refs were – I don't think they were unfair to the Broncos. Did they have a bad game overall, and was it a flag fest, especially in the first half? Absolutely. It was a flag fest, right? But when it comes down to the end of the game, and this is something that Sean Payton fans, Saint fans, they will beat to death, and I will fight them until the very end on this. When the Saints were in the NFC Championship game under Sean Payton, and they played the Rams, you know where I'm going. The pass interference, where it's clearly a pass interference, right? I mean, he did not play the ball at all.
Yeah.
But people don't take into consideration in that game is that the Saints, they didn't watch the game, okay? So Sean Payton on fourth down, he's got Taysom Hill out there instead of Drew Brees. Like, why? You've got one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Leave him on the field on fourth down, right?
Yeah.
This cutesy play calling stuff, You didn't play good all day. You get a chance to win the game later. Okay, whatever. They didn't call it. Then the Saints get the ball at the beginning of overtime, and they don't win the game. They get the ball first, right?
Yep.
So it's the same situation here, except not as important of a game. The Broncos had the lead. There were certain things that they shouldn't have done during the game that wouldn't have put them in a situation where at the end, if the Colts are kicking a field goal, they're going to lose the game, right?
Yep.
Exhibit A, Will Lutz missing the field goal.
Yep.
Right? You've got Dobbins with his weird penalty that took the Broncos. Was it 15 yards on that big run? Was it a 5 yard?
5 yard, and it wasn't even 1st and 15. It was an after the play penalty, so they just moved the ball back.
And that's the same drive where Nix threw the interception, right?
I think right after that.
Okay. So my point being is if you put the game in the hands of the refs on the last play, that's your fault. You have to play better before that so it doesn't come down to that situation. And Sean, we may disagree on this or we may agree. It doesn't matter because I'll let you say what you need to say. But he missed the field goal, right? Hooray, we won the game. Late flag. It's like, oh, crap. That's definitely on the Broncos. Like you just know, right, in those situations that it's on the team trying to defend the field goal. I thought it was offsides, and I was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. That's only 5 yards. He's still going to have to make a 55-yard field goal, right? They throw the flag. They call leveraging. In my opinion, Sean, that's clearly leveraging, like by the book. Like you cannot launch yourself by using a player, and that's exactly what 92 did. 96 held him down, and 92 put his hands up and his arm on his back, and that's how he ended up. He ended up like flipping over almost, right? So all you can do is jump up, and you can't line up over the center. These are all rules in place. The NFL players know this. The Broncos know this. They know they can't do this stuff. Did they look at the Colts doing it earlier in the game and think that they could get away with it because of this ref crew didn't call it? That's possible, right? But what I'm trying to say is the refs didn't lose this game for the Broncos. The Broncos lost this game for the Broncos by not being able to get a turnover from Daniel Jones, by not being able to stop Daniel Jones between the 20s, by allowing a 75-yard or whatever it was run by Jonathan Taylor, right? By turning the ball over, by, all these things that they didn't do right. Will Lutz missing the field goal. If we can't hold our team responsible for losing a game after all those mistakes, then I don't really, I get that people are passionate and things like that, but I just don't ever want to be that fan, Sean, that just blames the refs because my team lost. What are your thoughts on, that whole situation?
Yeah, you pretty much hit it all. So I'm not gonna beat a dead horse here. But what I will say is that, in coaching and what we do when we coach these kids, and just to your point, you can't leave it in the refs' hands, and blaming a third party like the refs is just a loser's mentality. Mm-hmm. And when they got all those penalties on defense in the first half, what did we do? We got a touchdown. So the Colts fans, if they would have lost, the Colts fans that are similar to Broncos fans that want to blame the refs would have blamed the refs for the first half and those things. So no, it was the Bo Nix turnover. It was the Will Lutz miss field goal, and it was the defensive play from first snap to last snap. So, when you are the best defense in the league, you can't give up 29 points to the Colts. That's it. You shouldn't give 15 points to the Colts. So you knew Jonathan Taylor was the best player on their team, and you let him do whatever the hell he wanted. So it's not the refs. You lost that game, and you lost that game when you let the Colts score on their first 4 drives, and the damn commentators wouldn't stop talking about how they haven't punted all year and they score every time they touch the ball. Like, stop them. You should have stopped them. They're not that good. So no, I'm in agreement with you, man. There's no reason to even talk about it anymore. It's a non thing.
And as the kids say on social media, Sean, you don't know ball. You got to know ball to talk ball, man. And any fan that I confront that's going to blame the refs and not firstly bring up what their team came up short in, I just can't take that person serious as a football fan. And we see that, and it brings out, football season always brings out the worst, right? It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. And am I always right? No. And I'm probably right less than half the time. But when you have that take, you just like, you can't be taken serious as a football fan. I'm sorry. Like, that's just how it is.
For sure.
But all this stuff being said, Sean, as we wrap this thing up, the Broncos did not play well offensively in the first week, but they played lights out defensively first week, right? And then yesterday, they played amazing on offense, and they played really bad on defense. So here's the good news. The Broncos haven't played their best game yet.
Yep.
Here's some more good news. The good teams are going to separate themselves after week 4, right? This is what happens every NFL season. It takes the teams a little bit to get going, get acclimated to full speed, somebody else tackling you from another team, all that stuff. Implementing all your offense, your schemes, your new teammates, all that stuff is done by week 4, right? So the bad news for the Chargers is that the Broncos haven't played offense and defense in the game yet, right? Yeah. And I have a hard time believing that the Broncos have forgotten the heartbreak of that Charger game last year. And I don't even know which one's more heartbreaking at this point. Probably the Charger game from last year, right? But the Charger game, the Colt game. So that's the good news. And the other good news is that it's week 2. This is not going to end the season. We don't need to panic on the Broncos. Should there be urgency? There should be urgency, right? I don't think that we disagree on that. Should there be panic? The sky's falling. We're not going to be able to stop anybody. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. And sometimes in the NFL, Sean, as you know, you just don't play good sometimes.
Yeah.
You just don't play good. And the good teams will figure out how to win those games more often than not, which the Broncos did last week. They didn't play good as a team, but they won the game. And that's what we were talking about, right? So the Broncos are going to lose games like this. These games make you feel like, why do I watch sports? Why do I care? Why do I invest time? I'm never watching football ever again, right? This is how these games feel. Yep. And then they will win games like this too, where the other team comes out feeling like this, and the other fan base is like, oh my gosh, what a gut wrencher, right? So this is all good news, Sean. So, Sean, what good news do you have for Broncos fans heading into the next game, which is going to be in LA against the Chargers?
We've seen good football on both sides of the ball. So it's just a matter of putting it all together at the same time. So, are they capable of it? I think so. I hope that they can get it together, and they're going to have the Chargers on a short week, which is nice as well. So, they're getting a super late Monday night football game. So, I think that they can put it all together next week. I think the defense is going to come out with a fire lit under them after such a poor performance. And when the best part of your team comes out motivated, I think it'll give us a great opportunity even on the road.
Yeah, no doubt. And I do think the Broncos, like I said earlier, are going to want to avenge that loss from last year, because that one hurt, man. I think we were up 17 or something. We were up big, 13. We were running the ball over them, and then the second half came, and we just couldn't do anything right. And that one ended on a bogus ref call too. I don't know if you remember, on the punt return, something. I can't even remember what the hell happened.
Probably blocked that.
Yeah. But the Broncos, like we said, we don't need them to play their best football in week 2, right? We need them to play the best football at the end of the year. Yeah. And so there's a long season ahead, a lot of football to be played, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you guys for watching the podcast. This is the Bronc Bros podcast, as I did not say at the beginning of our show today. But you can follow me on Instagram at Mile High Mez. You can follow us at Bronc Bros _ and you can follow Sean to his house because he doesn't have a handle up. Sean, it's been awesome, dude. I'm looking forward to next week's game. It's going to be a big one, not an end-all, be-all game, but a big game for the Broncos.
Yep.
And so we'll be here with you guys. Make sure to tune in next week. Like, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. And as always, go Broncos.
Go Broncos. See you next week.
And dogs, apparently.